Hello, welcome back to Doublereno Woodworking. So today I'm going to write the file to surface a spoilboard on my Onefinity CNC. It's a Woodworker, and it's got a, let's go ahead and get a file open here. The cut surface on my machine is 32 1/8 by 32 1/8. So I've already got a work surface set up for that, so you just change that to whatever size your machine is. This will work with different size machines. You just have to kind of follow the parameters that I use. But my machine is 32 1/8 by 32 1/8. When the thickness doesn't really matter, we're just going to work off the surface. But material surface, we're going to work off the top. And this right here is important because I made this thing a couple times, and when I went to the datum in the center, it wouldn't work. It didn't like the limits of what I was doing because I was working on the outer limits of it and where I had to zero it in. So just trust me on this one. Make sure you pick lower left corner on your datum position. This doesn't matter, and then hit OK. So we got our work surface here, and what I'm trying to accomplish here, I'm going to draw another rectangle here. This is pretty close. Let me close that and move it. This is pretty close to what my actual spoilboard is. It hangs over the side a couple inches, and then it hangs off the back. It actually hangs off the back farther than that, but I'm not worried about the back so much as I am the front. And there's about 1/4 of an inch between the actual cut surface and my actual spoilboard. And if I cut just the surface, the cut surface area, I'm going to have a lip right here. And I don't want that lip on the front in case I want to do some tile work, or I need a long piece or whatever I need to hang over and stay flat. I can't have that lip right there. So I'm writing this file in a way that it will take that lip off, and it'll give me a little bit extra clearance on the other three sides too. So what we want to do is highlight that triangle. It's already highlighted. So let's go back and let's change the size of that to the exact size of our work surface. So you want your work surface at 32 1/8, and then you want your triangle at the same dimensions, both of them 32 1/8. So while that's still highlighted, let's center it up on our work surface. And that's all we need to do. This is going to take 2 passes. It's going to be a profile pass, and it's going to be a raster cut on it too. So we're ready. This is our first one right here. This is going to be our profile. So we come over here and we go over to the toolpath commands, and we're going to create a toolpath for it. This first one is going to be a profile cut. We're going to cut just one time all the way around the edge of this. This is the one that's going to give us our extra cut outside of our work surface dimensions. So you want to choose a profile, and we're going to take off. We're going to start at 0 inches start depth. We're going to be starting at the surface, and then we're going to take off 0.02. And this is where it gets tricky. We're going to try and trick the machine here. So on our bit, I'm going to use this bit right here. It's a Amana surfacing bit, and it's 1 1/8 inches wide. And there's all the parameters for it and everything, and that's from Amana's website loaded into it. So we're going to close that one. And this is the bit that we're actually going to select for the machine. The machine thinks that we're going to be using, I always do that double click. The machine thinks we're going to be using this 1/8 inch diameter bit. So right here it says it's a 1/8 inch end mill. And again, with this is speed tool end mill. And it's the parameter set from the factory, from the manufacturer. So that's the bit that we're going to tell it that we're using. And the reason we're going to do that, I'm going to go back over to the 2D view, and I'm going to show you something. I'll explain this to you so it makes a little more sense. We've got 2 circles. If we take this one, we'll zoom in a little bit. We'll move this one over. So the machine is going to put it right there. It's going to run the edge of the bit right on the outer surface here. So it will, when it finishes, it'll cut a 32 1/8 by 32 1/8. But what we're going to do, we're going to tell it this one is in here. So it's really going to cut this distance here off of the surface. So it's going to make my cut surface bigger. It's going to plane down this surface a lot bigger, okay, if that makes any sense. So let's delete these out. Oops, I don't want to take my square out. We'll just grab those 2 right there, delete them, and we'll go back to our toolpaths. We probably got to highlight that again. Yeah, let's make sure that's highlighted. And then we're back in our toolpaths again. Okay, so we have our 1/8 inch bit here. It's going to do one pass, and it's a profile cut. We just want to cut right on the line. So we're going to, on our machine vectors, we're going to do that on the line. We don't need a separate last pass. We don't need tabs. We do want to put a ramp because this is going to be a 3-cutter surfacing bit that can't plunge. So it needs to have a ramp to go into it. So we're going to put, I think the standard is about 2.5 times the diameter of the bit, so we're just going to say 3 inches. It's really not that important. So we're just going to say a 3-inch ramp, and we don't need to mess with any of this stuff, and then we can hit calculate. And let's go ahead and give it a color that we can see. Maybe that green will show up pretty good. So we're going to preview this toolpath, and it goes all the way around, and it's just going to take off 1/8 of an inch because that's what it thinks the bit is. But in reality, it's going to take off 1 1/8 all the way across here. Okay, so that's all we need to do for that one. So now we can go back to our 2D view, and we need to make a raster. So we're back in 2D view here, and we need to make, and I tell you what, just to make it easier, just so you can keep them separated, we're going to go in here and we're going to rename this layer. And we're going to call this our profile. That's the one that we've already created. So we're just going to call that one profile, hit enter, and then we're going to add a new layer, and we're going to call that a raster. Hit enter, and then make sure that the raster one it's dark, so that's the one we're working on now. So we can get back out of that, and we're going to make another rectangle, and we want to make that, want to make another rectangle. Why isn't it making a rectangle? There it goes. And we want to make that one the same distance, 32.125 by 32.125. And when we want to go back up here, we want to center it on our work area again. And that's all we have to do on that one too. And while that one's still selected, we go back to our toolpaths. And what we want to do with this wants to be a pocket cut. We want to cut out everything on the inside of this rectangle. So we're going to make that a pocket cut. And then same, start at 0. Our depth is going to be the same, 0.02. And then this time, we're going to actually use our Mana surfacing bit that's 1 1/8 inches wide. Because it's going to stay within the parameters of the machine, so it won't have a problem with this one. So we have that bit. It's going to we want to set it for a raster. Okay, so we want to go raster and climb, and I'm doing 90 degrees because I want it to go up and down from front to back. And that's just personal preference. That's just the way I want it to cut. We need to make sure we have a ramp again of 3 inches. None of this other stuff matters. So all that matters here, 0 on the start depth, 0.02 on our cut depth. The 1 1/8 inch bit with whatever the factory settings are is fine on that. Then we want to do a raster cut, climb, and then with a 3-inch ramp. And then we can go ahead and calculate that. Let's go ahead and change this one to, let's call it, I didn't name that other one. I'll go back and name it in a second. So this one's going to be a raster. Raster spoilboard. And we're going to go 1 1/8 inch surfacing bit. That tells us what bit we're going to put in the machine when we pull our G-code up. So we hit calculate, and you see, I don't know why it starts over there, but it goes all the way over to the other side. I don't know why it does that, but there's probably a way of fixing that, but I don't know what it is. So we're going to do preview visible toolpaths. Let's slow that down just a little bit where we can see it. Oh, I have to have that. Visible is checked. Selected will do that. This is selected. This is visible. So it's selected. I need to hit preview selected toolpath. So it's going to go up and down, and you see these little ridges right here? That's what that profile cut that we did at first is going to take out, plus it's going to take it on our outside. And I cannot remember if I had a profile cut. I did. So I need to go back and show you that. So let's go ahead and open that file back up. Close. Open this file back up. The one thing I didn't say on this that's in here is we have a, where is that at? Right here. Under this raster, we're going to ask you if you want a profile pass. You can say no profile pass, first or last, okay? And we want it to go at the end because I want you to be able to see it, what it's going to take off. So we'll hit calculate again. We don't really have to calculate it again, and then we're going to preview selected toolpath. Let me slow that down where you can see that final pass that it makes. So reset preview, preview selected toolpath. And you can see right here where it's leaving these ridges, where it's turning and going back the other direction. When it finishes, it's going to make a profile pass and it's going to clear all that off. Okay, and the only thing it didn't clear off, kind of hard to see. Right here you can see it a little bit, these little corners, because it's a round bit, it's a big round bit, so it doesn't take those corners off. But if we go in here and let's select this profile cut, we'll go ahead and speed that up just for time, and then preview selected toolpath. That goes around. Well, it's not going to show it. It's not going to show it because it thinks it's an eighth. See, it took a little bit of that corner off because it thinks it's an 1/8 inch bit. But when we have our 1/8 inch bit in the machine, it's going to come up to about right here, and it's going to clean all those corners off. So the end result of this, it should give you a bigger, like probably 32 1/8 by 32 1/8 plus about a 1/2 inch all the way around. And it's going to take the front of my surface down flat completely where I can hang stuff off the edge. So we should be good on that. I'm going to go ahead and rename this one real quick. And that's going to be our profile spoolboard 1 1/8 inch surfacing bit. Okay. And just hit enter and that will save that. Okay, so we're there. So we got our two files now. And let's go ahead and see. We'll select both of them. It says it's going to take 25 minutes total to run the whole thing, which is not terrible. I could probably speed up the raster cut a little bit, but I'm going to let it just go with what it is. So we come in here now. We need to go ahead and save our G code. And right here, the easiest thing to do is just go to Visible Toolpaths and don't select Group. You select Group, it gives you an error. So it's going to it's going to save all of the visible toolpaths, which are the ones that are selected. Excuse me. It's going to save both of these as separate files. So we're going to go up here to Save Toolpath. And I got a Onefinity G code folder on there. And we're going to say Spoilboard Surfacing. That'll be good. We'll know what that is. Just name it something you'll know what the file is for. And hit save. Come back in. Look in there, and now we've got these two files. Spoilboard Surfacing Profile, and then the raster. So we're going to run our profile first, then we'll run the raster. So that's it for this part of the video. I'm going to take it and run it. I'll make a separate video of actually surfacing the spoilboard. So I appreciate you watching. I'll leave a link to the other one when I get it posted. I appreciate you watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share my videos. Thank you.